All right, if you're a reporting analyst, you know the feeling. You basically live in dashboards. But what happens when you look at the numbers and they're just plain wrong? Look, today we're not talking about slapping on a quick fix. We're going to go way beyond the dashboard. We're talking about becoming a real data detective, a system builder.
Okay, so picture this, right? It's T-1 hour, you've got that huge, crucial client presentation coming up, you're doing the final checks, everything seems fine. You pull up that executive dashboard one last time and boom, your heart just drops into your stomach. So that main KPI, the big one, revenue, it's off. And I don't mean by a little bit. We're talking $10 million. The panic starts to creep in, right? The clock is just ticking away, and guess what? All eyes are on you to figure this out, now. And this is it. This is the moment every analyst knows all too well. Do you go for the quick fix? The duct tape solution that'll probably get you through the meeting, but deep down you know it's just going to break again next week? Or do you take a deep breath and decide to find out what really went wrong and make sure this thing never, ever happens again? So let's talk about how to move beyond that Band-Aid fix. We're going to dive into a systematic way to find the real source of the problem. It's called root cause analysis, or RCA for short. And trust me, it's all about finding the actual cure, not just slapping a bandage on the symptoms. So what exactly is root cause analysis? Well, the formal definition is all about finding that core issue. But I like to think of it like this. Imagine a whole line of dominoes falling over. You could spend all day picking them up, right? Or you could figure out what knocked over that very first domino. That's RCA. It's about finding that initial push so you can stop it from ever happening again. Okay, so to start digging, we really need a framework. A way to organize all the chaos and the million things that could have gone wrong. And our first tool for this is a total classic from the world of quality management, but we're going to adapt it for our data world. It's called the fishbone diagram. So here's the classic diagram. You might have also heard it called an Ishikawa diagram, named after the guy who invented it. Now, originally, in a factory setting, the bones of this fish would be things like machine or manpower, and the problem you're trying to solve, the effect, is the head of the fish. So how in the world does this help us with a broken dashboard? Simple. We adapt it. For us, the bones become the things we wrestle with every single day. So first up, could it be the source data? Maybe an API changed or a file got corrupted. Or maybe it's in the ETL or the logic, a bug in a SQL query maybe. What about good old human error? Somebody ran a manual process the wrong way. Or finally, could it be system performance, like a database just timing out? See? Just like that, you've turned that feeling of panic into a structured, step-by-step plan. All right, so once we have our big categories, we need a way to really drill down into them. And that brings us to our second, and maybe my favorite, tool, the 5 whys. This is where we stop guessing and really start playing detective. Now, this whole idea comes from Taiichi Ono over at Toyota. And he had this great quote about it. He realized his teams were just putting out the same fires over and over and over again. So by making them ask why 5 times, he could force them to get past the surface-level symptoms and find the real fundamental failures in the process. Okay, before we even start asking our first why, there is one absolutely critical rule here. This is a pro tip, so listen up. Root cause analysis is never about finding someone to blame. It's about understanding the process. The second you make it about who messed up, people are gonna clam up and you won't get the real answers. So remember, it's about the process, not the person. Always. All right, let's actually do this. Let's role play it. So based on our fishbone diagram, we think the problem is probably in that ETL and logic bone. So question number 1, why is the revenue number wrong? Well, the answer is pretty clear. The dashboard is straight up missing the last 24 hours of transactions. Okay, that's our symptom. But we're not going to stop there, of course. So why number 2, why are those transactions missing? Okay. The answer, the nightly data pipeline job, the one that updates the table for the report, it failed. Now we're getting somewhere. We've moved past the dashboard itself and we're looking at the pipeline. Okay, let's keep digging. Why number 3? Why did that pipeline job fail? The answer is it timed out. It ran for 6 hours straight, which is its max limit, and the system just automatically killed it. So this tells us it's not just some simple bug. We're looking at a performance problem here. So why number 4? Why on earth did it time out? Okay, so we check the logs and bingo, we see a new data transformation step was added to the process just recently. And get this, that one step is causing the query to process billions of rows instead of the usual millions. We've just found a huge clue. And here it is, the final question. Number 5, why did that new step process so many dang rows? And here's the answer. This is our root cause. A developer changed a SQL join from an inner join to a left join. And that simple change accidentally created what's called a Cartesian product, which basically just exploded the number of rows and caused the whole thing to time out. We found it. A single, tiny line of code was the culprit.
Okay, finding that root cause feels like a huge win, and it is. But the job's not over yet. Now comes the most important part, making sure that no one, anywhere on our team, ever has to waste hours hunting for this exact same problem ever again. It's time to move from analysis to action. And here's how we do it. It's a simple protocol. First, you document that root cause, clearly and simply. Second, you detail the permanent fix. In our case, that means correcting the SQL join. Third, and this is crucial, you update the team's knowledge base, the wiki, whatever you use. You have to share what you learned. And finally, you implement a monitor. Maybe it's a simple alert that goes off if that job ever starts running way longer than it should. And you know what? When you start doing this consistently, something really fundamental changes. You stop being a reactive report fixer who's just constantly putting out fires. You become a proactive system builder. You're actually making the entire data platform stronger and more reliable for everybody. And that, right there, is the real power of this whole process.
So I'm going to leave you with a question. I want you to think about that one annoying glitch you deal with. You know the one I'm talking about. That report that's always just a little bit off, or that known issue that everyone on the team has just kind of learned to live with. My question is, what recurring problem are you going to go out and solve for good?